FSU 31, Clemson 24. It actually happened. Mike Norvell and the Noles actually went in there and they got the win. And am I sensing, and I've been on the road, okay, maybe a little foggy right now mentally, so you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm sensing a little recalibration of expectation with Florida State. Jesse, Colin, yes or no? Because I tend to remember just back in preview magazine season, people said, man, they'll probably lose to LSU. Now, certainly if they lose to LSU, maybe they'll beat Clemson, or maybe they'll lose to Clemson. They're going to lose at least one of those games. They'll be an underdog in both of those games. Well, as it turns out, they weren't a dog in both of those games. And as it turns out, they won both of those games. And here we are, and they're 4-0. And I heard an alarming amount of, yeah, but they only ran it for 22 yards. Yeah, but Florida State didn't really deserve to win that game. And Florida State, man, they got lucky. What are you talking about? So Florida State's the best team in the ACC right now. I think they're better than Clemson. Clemson could win this game 5 times out of 10 yesterday. It's a coin flip game. Dabo in his postgame was right about that. Dabo expressed some other sentiments I'll talk about in a second. But Florida State's first lead in this game was in overtime. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Listen to these numbers. These are what we call faux padlock stats, padnot stats. These would fool you. If I told you Friday that Florida State was going to be 4 of 13 on third downs, it's not good. They're going to be outgained by over 115 yards. Doesn't sound great. 1.1 yards per carry, sack adjusted? That can't work. Clemson, 25-16, first down advantage. How did they win? They threw it deep. That's how they won. I had Ryan McGrady, a.k.a. Stats and Info, go look up how many times they threw the ball physically over 20 yards downfield. They threw that thing downfield 11 times yesterday. Felt like 100. They completed, 4 of them, Jesse? I can't remember what it was. Anyway, the threat was there all day. That's a career high. They have never thrown, Travis Hunter has never thrown the ball in a game that far downfield that many times. You want a padlock stat, though? I gave you a bunch of fake padlock stats. What I actually have, and what ended up winning this game, is a padlock SOT. Colin, roll it. Yeah,
it's all about the ball. 36 points off of turnovers. Just process that in 4 games. And all of last year was 38.
That's it. That's how they won. Turnovers, points off turnovers. That's a pretty wild stat, by the way. Clemson already at the amount of points they gave up off turnovers an entire season last year through the first 4 weeks. Yeah. How do you prevent that? You make sure the game's out of reach. That's unrealistic in games where you're this evenly matched, I know. This is the first time Clemson has lost back-to-back home conference games since 2010. That's a long time ago. They've been dominant. Obviously, they've been dominant in conference play. So I took it upon myself to listen to Dabo postgame. And he said, in response to a question about whether this was a statement about the future of the ACC, he said, this is not a referendum. I don't even know what that means. 2 things. I think Dabo Swinney knows what referendum means. And number 2, I know what he's trying to say. The point he made was, what? So now we don't win it 1 year? I think they've won 7 or 8 in a row. So now finally we don't win it 1 year and it's a referendum? No. If I were to say it, that wouldn't be my point. My point going into the game has been a lot more broad in nature. Frankly, Clemson could have won this thing by 3, and I'd still have questions about their approach. So I've been kind of careful with the way I've handled this because I got so much respect for what he's done there, and I got respect for someone who has a way of doing things that works, and he adheres to it. I've got respect for that. My personal view, as I've told you many times before, is they're simply voluntarily hamstringing themselves, handcuffing themselves when it comes to talent acquisition. Now, what I'm not telling you is I'm not telling you the transfer portal decided this game. It did, though, because Florida State has the players they have because of the portal. That's the part no one ever thinks about. Everyone, when you say Clemson's costing themselves because of the portal, they only look at it as a one-way street. They only ask you, well, what player from the portal can you prove they would have gotten that would have won this game yesterday? I can pick about 4 of them that if Florida State didn't have from the portal, probably would have made this game go the other way. That's the point. It's not just you sitting still on the portal. It's the other guys using the portal. Like, that's if I got promised that they wouldn't use it, I wouldn't care if I use it or not. In fact, if I'm Dabo Swinney and you can promise me my competition won't use the portal, I'd much rather not use it. I'd much rather go recruit and home grow my talent. Yes, that's a perfect world. No, we don't live in one anymore. And by the way, now that we've got this result out of the way, what's happening in the ACC? Florida State looks to be for real. I don't just mean this year. I mean, like as a program, they look to be for real. Clemson's not going to fade into the abyss by any stretch. I don't think that's going to happen. I just think that there's some work to be done there. And that's like the most generic statement. I was just doing that because I had something in my teeth. I think I got it out. Okay, we're good. Miami is the enigma. Because Miami's blowing people out right now, but it was Temple. So they really, they've played A&M, and then since then we haven't seen them. They played Bethune-Cookman, they played Temple. I am very excited to see the meat of conference play present itself. North Carolina, I'm going to talk about them later. But, man, Clemson's, I think they're out of the playoff picture. I think they are. I want to be so careful with that because in a season of chaos, I think we're going to have a 2-loss team in the playoff. I'll throw that out there. So maybe it's Clemson, maybe it's not. They may not be done losing either. I don't think they're done losing. So it's okay. It's okay. Like Dabo was talking about yesterday, and I agree with him. I agree with him in theory. You don't write someone off after this many years of success when they finally have the down year. He is absolutely right about that. But he also followed it up by saying, when he's bringing in true freshmen, he said, hey, these guys will come in here and we'll be right back to where we were and they'll have another couple of championships in their future. I don't think it's that clear cut. Certainly that's how I would recruit. I'm not disagreeing with him there. Be as boisterous and as prideful and as positive as you want to be. But the days of Clemson as currently constructed running roughshod over that conference are over. That doesn't mean they can't dominate. It just means the way they've dominated is going to be a thing of the past because there's a new way to win. And until they take advantage of it and then learn to be ahead of the curve on it and then learn to use it to dominate, you're going to have stuff happen like happened yesterday. That's the long and short of it. That's not that hard to figure out in theory. The difficult part is, are you going to change anything about your practices?